So, to be totally honest, this concept is stolen from XP to Level 3, who in turn stole it from Matthew Colville. If you haven't seen those videos, go watch them, because they're really good. I just think they kinda wasted some potential there, by only doing Lord of the Rings. Like, this could be so much more. Hello there, I'm Judith, welcome to my channel. Today's topic is the surprisingly obvious combination of Dungeons & Dragons and Monty Python. I'm going to assume that everyone watching this has at the very least heard about, if not actually seen, the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail. If you haven't, you may want to go do that now, because this entire video is basically a huge spoiler for the movie. So what does that have to do with DnD? Well, it's become kind of a meme that this movie is a lot like a very chaotic DnD campaign. So this is my attempt to actually figure out what that might be like. Now, before I get into it, I want to preface that my own experience is exclusively in 5th edition. So that's what I'm assuming they're playing. The movie actually came out a year after the release of the original DnD. So realistically, that's what they would hypothetically be playing. But I only know 5e. So that's what we're doing. Besides, they also did Lord of the Rings, which actually came out way before D&D was even a thing. So I'm just gonna ignore the timeline here. Anyway, let's meet the party. Obviously, this party consists of the main 6 Monty Python members. I think Terry Gilliam is probably the DM, with the 5 others being the players, based solely on the roles they play in the movie. I mean, they all switch characters a bunch, but Gilliam seems to be taking almost exclusively NPCs. So with this party, they set out to play D&D. Unfortunately, Michael and Eric had to cancel for the first session. Now, Graham is new to D&D, so they actually start out following just Arthur through some shenanigans as he gets used to the game. So it's really more of a session 0. Once he kinda knows what's going on, John introduces his character. They were told to make a knight, so John made a fighter who just stands in the forest waiting for a fight. He didn't really think it through, and I think the reason is that they were kinda hesitant to play with him in the first place. So he only got the notice last minute, when the others cancelled. Much to the DM's surprise, John refuses to join Arthur, and instead they fight. Apparently they're using the lingering injuries rules from the Dungeon Master's Guide, because when Arthur rolls a natural 20, he chops off John's arm. John then uses second wind to keep going, declares it's just a flesh wound, and attacks again. Arthur gets advantage on his next attack and rolls another natural 20. Repeat until immobilized. Everyone looks at John going, "What were you doing?" And he just says, "That's what my character would do." So Arthur moves on and meets Bedivere, who does join him. Session 2, aka the first real session, has Eric and Michael joining at last, and John has actually been given a second chance to join the party with a new character, a barbarian called Lancelot, but he had to promise to actually cooperate. The DM actually had to look after his baby that time, so the DM prepared a fun little character sheet for him. But he actually fell asleep before the game began, so he wasn't really featured in the campaign. So at the start of the session, they kinda just handwave having recruited the other knights, mostly not to give John a chance to be difficult about it. So at this point, they are on their way to Camelot, and the DM describes a fun, whimsical place in order to draw them in. That backfires immediately, as the party decides it's a silly place, so they won't go there. Now that's a problem for the DM, because not only is that a castle worth of preparation gone, but he was also planning to have God appear during the feast to deliver the quests. Since they don't go there, the DM just has him appear in the middle of the road. So they go on the quest and run into a French castle, which they try to invade. They come up with the Trojan rabbit scheme, but fail the group deception check, so the French see straight through it. Also, they did legitimately forget to actually get inside it. So after that fiasco, the party decides to leave the castle alone, meaning they miss whatever clues were in there. As they're about to end the session, they realize that they have a busy period coming up. So in order to keep things going, they agree to split up, so that those who can make it can still play. The next couple of sessions are a bunch of side quests with a rotating cast, featuring some of the core players in addition to some new guest players, like girlfriends, brothers, etc. Since the party split up, each session is almost like a one-shot, focusing on one of the nights, with the other players playing new characters. Also, at the start of all this, the DM actually wanted to try a fun, creative way of recapping for the new players, by describing a historian telling the story. Unfortunately, John got bored, and straight up killed the historian. So to quickly go over each separate adventure, Sir Robin was given a chance to prove how brave he can actually be, by fighting a huge monster, but chose instead to use his roguish stealth to sneak out of there. Sir Galahad was given a challenge of his chastity, and after a series of successful wisdom saves, his dice finally gives in. But Galahad's fiancée, who was also there that session, said that she wasn't comfortable with where this was going, so the DM gave her Lancelot's character sheet to save Galahad. Now, so far, they still hadn't even found an actual clue, so the DM just took the Bridgeguard NPC and just made him give the clue to Arthur and Bedivere to get some actual plot progression. So Lancelot was given a chance to do some actual role-playing, but instead resorted to his usual murder hobo ways. Also, the Swamp Castle is totally just the unused map of Camelot, reskinned to something completely different. To close off this period of side quests, Eric actually joins in Arthur and Bedivere's game, playing Roger, and in the end picks up Sir Robin again, to kickstart the reuniting of the party. Of course, Lancelot and Galahad can't make it that session, so they kinda just hand-wave it, so they can just start to get it next time. At the start of the next session, they encounter a sorcerer called Tim, who is apparently something of a pyromaniac. But Arthur remembers this was actually the guy they were supposed to be looking for to find the Grail. So they ask him, eventually, and he tells them about the cave of Caer Bannock, where they can find the last words of Ulfin Bedwyr of Regent, which will lead them straight to the Grail. Tim then leads them to the cave, because why wouldn't he? It's not like he has anything better to do. Also, the DM is starting to realize that if he leaves these players to their own devices, they will unalive each other before they even get close to the Grail. The beast is obviously meant to be a challenging encounter, but is also just an excuse to get rid of all the NPCs the party pulled out of thin air along the way. Then, Lancelot reminds Arthur that he has a feature called Divine Intervention, so Arthur tries to use that, but rolls badly, so God doesn't intervene. So instead, Arthur just goes like, yeah, I'm the king. I would have some monks traveling along, wouldn't I? I'll ask them. And apparently Terry can't say no to his players, so the monks just give them the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. When they enter the cave and find the last words, the DM actually forgot the name of the guy whose words they're supposed to be, and can't be bothered to look it up, so he just makes up Joseph of Arimathea. The legendary Black Beast of Ark is just the DM getting rid of Rhoda Maynard, and it actually would have been easy enough for the party to kill the beast, but instead they all take the dash action. This is so frustrating to the DM that he suffers a heart attack. So the next session is the last session, as the DM decided not to play with these guys anymore, for the sake of his heart, but he does want to end the campaign properly. When they get to the bridge, each player has to individually roll a check in order to pass through. They were supposed to roll intelligence, but a well-interpreted charisma check or something would be acceptable as well. Now, after they cross the bridge, it all gets a little wibbly-wobbly. There's a bit of a break when John gets a little angry. Basically what happened was he got impatient waiting for everyone and wanted something to do. So the DM gave him something to do. A roleplay encounter, featuring the police who are looking for the murderous knight who unalived the professor. Of course, Lancelot doesn't even try talking, and just tries to unalive them as fast as possible. He fails miserably, and gets arrested. John doesn't like that, and leaves. Anyway, the DM then leads Arthur and Bedivere back to the French castle from the beginning, which turns out to be the location of the Grail. That wasn't really the plan, but since they never even entered the castle, DM figured he might as well. Remembering the last time they tried to take the castle, Arthur makes up an army that he, as the king, would just be able to summon, I guess. The DM agrees, but secretly vows to not let them benefit from it. And so, the police show up to avenge the historian's death. They are reunited with Lancelot in the back of the van, and as they are driven to prison, the DM can't help but smile. Look, I didn't say it was going to make any sense. As much of a meme as this movie is, it was surprisingly difficult to fit it onto the format of DnD. If you have a better interpretation, let me know down below. I'd love to read it. So that brings me to the YouTube thing. You know the drill. It's all in the end screen. If you don't know what to comment, how about this? What other movies would you like to see as DnD campaigns? Let me know down below. For now, thanks for watching.